Tonight on the Rosenberg Report, anti-Semitism explodes around the world. As Israelis observe Holocaust Memorial Day, how close were the mullahs in Iran to building the bomb and launching a second Holocaust? And as talks in Pakistan fail, as President Trump imposes a naval blockade on the Strait of Hormuz and the IDF pummels terror forces in Lebanon, what's coming next in Iran with Hezbollah and this firestorm of hatred against the Jews? Tonight, I sit down with an Israeli cabinet member close to Netanyahu to get the inside story. It's an exclusive conversation with Minister Amichai Chikli, and it all starts right here, right now, on the Rosenberg Report. What is happening next? What's coming next with Iran, Hezbollah, and this vicious, relentless war against the Jews? Good evening and welcome to the Rosenberg Report. We're going to cover these issues and more tonight, including how can Christians be doing more to fight anti-Semitism and to stand with Israel and the Jewish people amidst this eighth front. Israel's not only been attacked since October 7th, 2023 on 7 fronts, and we're waging this war against the Iranian regime and Hezbollah now, but we are being attacked on an 8th front as well, with massive and surging anti-Semitism and Jew hatred worldwide, and certainly here in this region. So we're going to get right to it. We're going to do that with an exclusive interview today with the minister, the Israeli cabinet minister, handling the diaspora affairs and combating anti-Semitism. His name is Amichai Chikli. He is a native-born Israeli. He's a key figure right now in the most intense fight Israel has really had and the Jewish people have had against surging Jew hatred since the Holocaust. It's great to have you on the set, Minister. So grateful for you coming on the Rosenberg Report.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amen. Shalom. Look, this has been a big week. Israelis and Jews around the world remembering Holocaust Remembrance Day, like really the sirens and trying to remember the horror, really, of 6 million of our people being annihilated by a Nazi regime that the world didn't take seriously and didn't deal with ahead of time. So I want to start there. You know the Prime Minister well, you're in the cabinet, you're in those meetings. Mm-hmm. How close was the Iranian regime to being able to have nuclear weapons and being able to then pull off a second Holocaust?
Extremely close, several months. The ambition of the Iranian regime was very clear, the annihilation of the State of Israel and the Jewish people. It is the Nazi regime of our time, an evil and vicious regime who murdered countless of innocent people, their people in the streets of Tehran and other cities in Iran, thousands of Americans, thousands of Israelis. And I think that this is one of the most important and brave war that we have had in our history.
How much damage so far has been done to the Iranian regime, and maybe even more importantly for us, which is we'd love that regime to go down, but right now they're a smoldering wreckage. The question is how much damage to their offensive military capabilities, the ballistic missiles, the launchers, the suicide drones, and their production facility. What's your assessment based on your inside information?
The achievements are beyond imagination. We set 3 goals before the operation started. One was the ballistic missiles. So yes, let's begin with the bad news. The bad news is some of their ballistic missiles, several hundreds, are deep within these mountain bases, and they are out of reach, and we didn't get the opportunity to eliminate the entire pool of their ballistic missile. But they have lost all the factories that are related to the production of their ballistic missiles. They were able to produce several ballistic missiles every single month, dozens of ballistic missiles. Now it is 0. Okay. Most of the ballistic missiles were intercepted and annihilated. Most of the trucks that were carrying these missiles were eliminated. And because we are controlling the sky And yes, we saw it's not 100% guarantee, but we're speaking about hundreds of airplanes 24/7 above the skies of Iran. Okay, complete air superiority of both the U.S. and Israel, and this fact also have a huge impact on the ability to eliminate every launcher's right on time. Like you aim, you go out of your cover, and you automatically become a target. So the ballistic missiles were dramatically reduced, and we saw that in the first days of the war, we have hundreds of ballistic missiles being thrown into Israel, and at the end of the war, we saw 10 to 20 ballistic missiles. So it's a totally different scale.
Yeah.
This is one. Second, obviously, nuclear capabilities. Every single aspect of the nuclear capabilities of Iran, from Arak to Natanz to Isfahan, every facility that is related to the nuclear plant was destroyed, was attacked. The scientists, about 20 top scientists who were focused on Iranian nuclear program were eliminated. The teams in the army who were in charge of creating the military aspect of the nuclear program, they were all eliminated. We do have the problem of the enriched uranium, but the enriched uranium and the entire plan, that's a whole of a different story. So we took Iran...
In other words, the 11 bombs worth of highly enriched uranium, that's buried under a mountain right now that's been obliterated. So the question is, do we have to go get it, or do we just keep an eye on it?
No, it is a major problem. It is a major problem. But the capabilities of Iran and their nuclear capabilities went back dramatically. So it's still a challenge, but the achievements are very, very high. Third, we said that we are going to create the conditions for a regime change. And this is, I think, the most complicated issue. And some people thought, okay, maybe we're going to drop some bombs, eliminate leaders, and then we're going to see a regime change. No, that was not what was said, not by the U.S. and not by Israel. We said creating the conditions. We said we're going to help the Iranian people. And I think that we have stood in our word. We came to help the Iranian people. The fact that the supreme leader, and this is not a democracy, losing the supreme leader is a big deal, a very big deal in a tyranny like Iran.
But it's also astonishing. More than 40 of the top most wicked leaders with blood on their hands, including the so-called, I mean, can you imagine calling yourself the supreme leader and now standing before the supreme leader of heaven and earth? And that's not going to go well for him. He's burning in hell. But to be able to eliminate them all in the first 40 seconds of the war. I was with Yechiel Leiter in Washington, the ambassador, and he was like, this is I'm
crazy.
Not sure if people fully realize what a big deal that was, such a precise Israeli intelligence operation and military strike.
Yeah, that's an amazing intelligence of both the U.S. and Israel. And we are speaking at the highest commanders, including the top commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and his successor and successors and the head of the intelligence and sea. And I think that these people are in charge of the massacre of so many Iranian people. We are speaking about thousands of Iranian people, tens of thousands of Iranian people that were massacred by their own vicious regime. These people are gone. Now, I think that when this is over, it will be the moment for the Iranian people to finish the job. And only the Iranian people can finish the job.
Today, nearly 99% of Israelis don't yet know Jesus. Think about that. Nearly 99% of Israelis don't yet know Jesus. But a miracle is unfolding. One for Israel is a ministry that shares the gospel. And I can tell you, Jewish people are starting to accept Jesus in numbers not seen since the early church. Many Arabs are also finding faith and unity. One for Israel is an initiative of native-born Israelis sharing the gospel, discipling believers, and equipping spiritual leaders across Israel. As Romans 10:1 expresses, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they may be saved. Your support helps bring the gospel back to Israel. I want you to do something right now. Pick up the phone and call 800-892-9065. That's 800-892-9065 to help share the gospel in Israel. Visit oneforisrael.org/partner or scan the QR code. What's next? We've got a ceasefire at the moment, but the negotiations in Pakistan failed. Yeah. We've got a blockade against in the Strait of Hormuz. Do you think the ceasefire holds, or are we going back, the United States and Israel, into full-scale war against the Iranian regime?
The big story here is not the oil prices, because in 1 year, 10 years, and 100 years, no one will remember what was exactly the oil tariff on May 26. The question will be whether we defeated this terror regime, yes or no. And if they will have the slightest achievement, and they could go and say to their people, we have managed to stand the mighty power of the U.S. and Israel, the big Satan and the small Satan, it would be much more difficult to take down the regime, because in their view, their story would be, we have won the war. This is obviously, when you take under consideration the fact that they have lost their entire Navy, entire Air Force, entire leadership, entire defense industry, it is a complete joke. But for them, this small achievement can be the ground to stand on in order to rebuild their power. And therefore, there should be no surrender to this vicious regime, even in the smallest question, which is not that small.
Well, one of
the Strait of Hormuz
is that I've been concerned. I have to say, I support President Trump, what he's doing, but I was concerned with the reports from multiple sources that the United States is putting 20-year prohibition on Iran enriching uranium. Why are we giving them any freedom, any permission in 20 years from now or ever to enrich uranium? We know what they've just done. Why would we open that door? Does that concern you and the Israeli government?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think we need to seek to reach a point that will bring this regime down. Now, as I said before, we cannot complete the job without the Iranian people themselves. It's up for the Iranian people. But it is very, very important not to give the Iranian the smallest achievement, not even the smallest achievement.
Lebanon, you mentioned Hezbollah and how much damage Israel is doing with full support of the United States. That's fantastic. And now, starting this week, peace talks. I think the first ever really formal, open, publicly admitted direct talks to make a peace and normalization agreement, or at least a ceasefire between Lebanon and Israel ever. How optimistic are you? Where do you think that's going?
Okay, so let's be very clear. Let's put the facts. On October 8, a day after the massacre of October 7 led by Hamas, Hezbollah joined the war. Israel did not attack Lebanon or Hezbollah. They decided to go into the war. Later on, we had a ceasefire, and we had an agreement with the Lebanese that there will be no presence of Hezbollah in South Lebanon.
South of the Litani River.
South to the Litani River. We all saw what happened now. Right. And once again, Hezbollah decided to join the war because of the attacks against their patrons in Iran.
Right.
Okay? So, 2 times, they opened a war against the state of Israel without that we have initiated this war. So I think that the time for discussion regarding Hezbollah is over, and Hezbollah need to be wiped out. Now, it won't take a month, and it's not just about military efforts, because Hezbollah is also a political movement, a political power. It's not just based in South Lebanon, but also in the Bekaa, which is farther to the north. But I think that the fact that Hezbollah is being defeated on the border, He lost the frontline villages that were built as bases, fortress.
Right.
I hear.
I've been up there. 18,000 weapons was.
I'm listening to the news, and people are saying it's an ethnic cleansing of Muslim in South Lebanon. Complete nonsense. They have turned their villages into bases. So when you are taking a village and you turn it into a base, this village will be destroyed. And the Christian village next by, or the Sunni village next by, it will remain unhurt. Right. Okay, so that's what's happening in South Lebanon. Second, the fact that they don't have Syria now with Bashar al-Assad means they don't have the supply channel coming from Iran from the east.
The Sunnis in Syria are actually strengthening the border so that Shias can't come back in.
Exactly.
Can't retreat.
So this is very bad news for Hezbollah. Then you have the fact, how is Iran going to pay now that they are so devastated and they were defeated? They need to rebuild their navy, rebuild their air force, rebuild their entire defense industry,
a road or a school or a hospital rather than the military.
So there will be no money for Hezbollah. And the political crisis of Hezbollah, who created a catastrophe, a humanitarian catastrophe for its own people, the Shiite in Lebanon. So both the economic, the political, and his defeat on the battlefield, these components all combined can create a situation in which Hezbollah is doomed. And there will be no future. It will become smaller and weaker. It will not take us, as I said, weeks or months. It's a long process, but I think we are in a good direction. And hopefully we're going to have peace with the Lebanese government, because we have nothing against Lebanon. And one thing here is important. The European leaders who are saying we want to have a ceasefire both in Iran and Lebanon. But when you connect Iran and Lebanon, you're saying that Lebanon is Hezbollah.
Right.
You're saying that Lebanon is Hezbollah. So this is a major strategic mistake. If you really care about Lebanon, you should seek the defeat of Hezbollah, because Hezbollah is the enemy of Lebanon before it is the enemy of Israel.
I have to say that first of all, I agree with your analysis. Secondly, I'm seeing more and more Lebanese leaders and analysts and journalists starting to, it's like they've been under slavery of Iran and Hezbollah for so long, but you're starting to see them coming up and saying enough, right? The commentators can say it more, but even seeing the leadership of Lebanon have meetings directly, openly with Israel, I think is a big deal. One other thing is, a lot of people say, Joel, don't be an optimist about this. There's never been peace. There was peace under David. King David had peace with King Hiram, and then Solomon had even a stronger peace and built the temple. So I just look at that and I say, okay, let's not be total pessimists. It's difficult, it's hard, it's messy, it's painful, but it's been done before, and I think even prophetically, Israel is coming to a period of quiet. Before you get to Gog and Magog in Ezekiel 38, where it goes horribly. But, good for us in the end, but Israel is described as being rebuilt as a country and having quiet, that we're living securely in the land. And we can't say that at the moment. I think that moment is coming. So I'm encouraged as I look at the scriptures, and I want to encourage our Christian audience, as well as Jewish, to be thinking along these ways. Let's talk about the global firestorm. That's what I'm calling it. This eighth front of horrific Jew hatred. Hatred not just against Israel and against Jewish people worldwide, but also against Christians who love Israel and love Jews. There really is a target now by Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and many others, not just against Israel and the Jews. That would be horrible, and Diana, that would be bad enough, but they're really trying to separate evangelicals and Catholics from Israel and the Jewish people. This is your portfolio. Talk about, you've had 2, I think, conferences on combating anti-Semitism. What is at the heart of this hatred, and what are you telling Christians, this is what we need from you?
Yes, so 2025, when we just published a report, was one of the deadliest years in terms of lethal anti-Semitism incidents. Bondi Beach, Australia, 15 casualties. Manchester, 2 casualties. Boulder, Colorado, Holocaust survivors, an old woman who were demonstrating for the release of the hostages, was murdered by a Molotov cocktail. And also we had a very serious incident in Michigan several weeks ago, luckily with no casualties, but it could have been a very, very dramatic terror attack. What unite these lethal incidents are, most of them are coming from radical Islamists. And I think that the threat that is coming from Islam and radical Islam is the thing that we need to put a focus on. And my efforts, especially in the last conference for combating anti-Semitism, was to bring together leaders from all across the world who understand the threat coming from radical Islam, if it is the Swedish Democrats from Sweden, if it is conservative leaders from Britain or from France and the U.S., all over the place. And I think that when you look at what's happening now in America, especially Dearborn, Michigan, we are following some of the things that we see in Texas, and the New York of Mamdani.
Right, the rise of the Shia Muslim radicals, communists.
I think America has a very, very big challenge with radical Islam. They have their conferences when they're saying we have a vision. In 100 years from now, America will become Muslim. Their vision is to turn U.S. to be like Belgium, okay? They want New York to be like London and Texas to be like Birmingham. So I think that the warning signs are on the wall, and it is very, very important to understand the gravity, because this is not a form of faith that is trying to integrate, okay? I'm speaking about the Muslim Brotherhood approach, okay? The Islamist approach, the political Islam. Their aim is to impose Sharia law, okay? To create a state within a state and to take over from within, step by step. And when you're seeing this ceremony led by Mamdani, when they're sitting on the floor and he brings all these Islamists
in a city that was
to the city hall,
September 11th, 2001. It's
sickening. So this is
and the largest population center of Jews outside of Israel.
When he was doing it, his goal was to humiliate America, to humiliate America, to humiliate Christians and to humiliate Jews. It's not an act, a naive act of faith. Okay, that's not the story. That's not the story.